Hey, y'all, listen, welcome into the building. I'm glad to see y'all here. I'm hanging out with the diva. Listen, if you coming through, y'all know the routine. Do me a favor, hit that like button. So it's Sunday. I'm on a little early today. I usually come on at 8 o'clock, but you know what I said? Let's just do this. Let's just do this. If y'all here with me, I had a really good day. Today in Jersey, it was kind of like pockets of sun, lots of rain. Kind of a day that is warm outside, but it's rainy. But you know what? I went to church today, had a good time, had a good message. And actually, because it was Children's Day at the church, they actually had a preacher. I want to say he was either 14 or 15 years old. Well, he did the darn thing. Listen, he said, you got to look again. Now, it's a whole message behind that, and I don't want to jack up his sermon, but I'm just saying he said you had to look again, and I was here for it. But listen, people, we're here today. The title is The Darkness Amongst Us. You know, with this whole Diddy trial, it's a lot of darkness that is coming to light, right? Everything that he did in the dark is a spotlight is being put on it right now. His whole sex life, and other things are being put out there on the forefront for everybody to ingest, and if they do it too much, they will digest this information. So, but you know what? When the darkness is exposed, a lot of people, they stay focused in, let me see how I should put this. They stay focused in the salationness of it all, instead of trying to say, how do I prevent my fellow brothers and sisters from falling into that same trap that seems to happen over and over again? We want to get stuck in, I feel sorry for them. We want to get stuck in people saying, oh, we shouldn't victim shame. Instead of saying, you know what? How do we correct this so that the people coming behind them don't fall into the same trap? We got to teach people about the darkness so they won't fall into it. The darkness amongst us. Now, until I read this story, I had no idea about this Christian singer in this group called, I want to say it's called Newsboys. And the lead singer, his name is Michael Tait. And he stepped down from the group. And the reason why he stepped down from the group is because he is being accused of the unthinkable. He is being accused of the darkness. He is being accused of hiding in the closet, so to speak, not coming out as his true, authentic self. So there's been a lot of men or young boys who claim that this Christian lead singer groomed them. And groomed them, I'm going to call it Diddy style. Groomed them with substances and alcohol. Touched them, non-consensual touch. So it's very sad. Like I said, I did not know about this particular group and this, singer until I read this story. And that's where I was like, the darkness. If people would just come out and be their authentic self, I think they will find that they will live a much happier life regardless of who approves or disapproves. Listen, let me tell the biggest kept secret. The biggest kept secret is that no matter who you are, what you do or don't do, you're always going to get somebody that don't like you. So you might as well be you. Now, with this Christian singer, they said it was the best kept secret. They said people want to act like they didn't know what he was doing and who he was, but they said everybody knew and everybody turned a blind eye. And I can believe that wholeheartedly. Because there's no way on the face of this earth, I don't care what celebrities say, oh, I wasn't at the party, I didn't know, I never saw that side of him. I'm calling BS. I'm talking about Diddy. I'm calling BS on it. There's no way that allegedly he was terrorizing the neighborhood for almost 3 decades and nobody knew. It's the lies. It increased yeah. It's sad, this Michael Tait. Very sad. But the piece that I want to get to that people don't understand and people call it victim shaming, the piece I want to get to is, how do you find yourself in a situation and then you stay? We all run into these situations. Believe me, we do. But it's the staying piece is what I want to get people away from and where I'm stuck. So we'll talk about this Michael Tait, the darkness amongst us. Then we're going to talk about a first date that turns deadly. The guy's just now going to trial. A young 19-year-old, she met a 34-year-old. First date, she goes back to his house. She's gone now. He dismembered her body. He burnt her body. And then he just placed the body all over the state. Listen, I want to believe that you never. No, he's not related. Increased man. He's not. Is he? No, he's not related to the Tait brothers. No, he's not. This is a whole different person. He's part of a Christian group. Well, he was part of a Christian singing group. That Michael Tait. With this first date, I think, not that people will follow it, but I think somebody needs to write a book on some rules on a first date, no matter how well you're vibing. So let me give you a diva tip. When you first meet somebody, I don't care if you feel like that's your soulmate and y'all just vibing. I'm going to say, do not let them come back to your house with you, or you go to their house with them. When we got a social media, we're in the age of a social media. When I was growing up, when I was dating, the social media wasn't like this. You had to ask a friend of a friend on a regular phone, not even a cell phone. Do you know so-and-so? Do you know their people? Have you heard anything about them? You had to go about it that way. But now, you can simply do a Google search with their name, and you will come up and see some stuff. And when you see it, you better believe it. If you want to proceed on after you saw some stuff that you didn't like, well, I got to tell you this. That's on you. That's on you. And I respectfully jump back to a Diddy situation. Once Cassie filed her lawsuit, if you still wanted to jump in his orbit, that's on you. I don't know what you want us to do. Because the blueprint is written. He likes his substances. He likes to drink. And he don't have no problem putting his hands on you, whether you are male or female. So that's the blueprint. And if you want to walk into that orbit and think you're going to be different than anybody else that came before you, then you're the fool. If you Google and you get some references from some people and they tell you, but it got to be people you trust, because, yeah, there are haters out there. There's liars out there. There are people out there that ain't going to tell you the truth. But if you go on to some people that you could trust and they telling you they don't know, then you really want to risk your life like that? But I'll go back to a diva tip. If you're dating, don't go back to nobody's house and don't let them back at your house in this date number one, because you don't even know enough about them. I don't care how well you vibed over the coffee. And then our last story, and this is why I'm saying the darkness amongst us, is this cop, Chicago cop, was unalived by the partner while on duty. And the chief of police is saying, don't jump the judgment so fast. They won't tell us who this partner is. They're being very secretive with the details. I don't know. I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it at all. But what can we do? Unfortunately, she is gone. And not only is she gone, she left behind a 10-year-old. You know, not all cops are bad. And I have to say this, high level respect, excuse me, y'all. High level respect. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. High level respect for all the cops out there. It's a dangerous job. It really is. And like I said, every last one of them ain't dirty. A lot of them are on the up and up trying to do the right thing. And it's a dangerous job. Anytime they walk out of their home, it's a high level potential that they will never come back. But when you out there in the streets and you being unalive because your partner made a mistake or allegedly, I don't know what happened, but your partner is the one that took your life, it's a problem. It's a problem if you ask me. But we're going to talk about it. Tonight is Sunday. The title is The Darkness Amongst Us. Y'all know what I need in the chat. I need a what? I need a choo-choo. All aboard, everybody. It is Sunday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. The title is called The Darkness Amongst Us. We got this Michael Tait, part of a Christian group, said he was leading a double life. And listen, the double life is not the problem. The problem that I have is that people are accusing you of doing stuff to them that they did not want done. Got the first date turns deadly and a cop is shot by her partner. Let me bring the people on in the building. Hold on one second. Hey, Savannah.
Hey, Diva. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. You came out there, hang out with the Diva on Sunday. Thanks, Savannah. It's me and you. We're going to do this. Okay? Hope you're ready.
Okay.
Listen, the darkness amongst us. You know, I think I'm going to start out with this first story, this first date. It is so incredibly sad. And listen, people, I get it. I understand. Who really wants to be alone? I don't know nobody that just wakes up and be like, I want to live the rest of my life by myself. I don't want a partner. I don't want to be in love. I don't think that's the case with anybody, right? Everybody wants somebody, and I don't think there's a problem with that. But it becomes a problem when you let your loneliness have you doing a misjudgment, right? So let me go ahead and share a screen so we could get into this story. Let me just make sure I have. I'm trying to make sure. Let me see which one. Okay, I think this is it.
Of Maxwell Anderson. As of just about 5 minutes ago, a jury, the one that will decide his fate, has been seated. Anderson is accused of killing and dismembering 19-year-old Shanae Robinson. He's charged with intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, arson, and hiding a body. Jury selection was a day-long process. TMJ4's Jenna Ray was in that courtroom all day long. Jenna, they managed to work through a pretty large amount of jurors in a mostly efficient fashion here.
Steve, it's something that we thought was actually going to take a couple of days, but within just one day, we have a jury chosen. It's 12 women, 3 men. 10 of those 13 people do have children. We got to that 13 number from a severed pool of 40. Those 40 people, a diverse people from across Milwaukee County, were chosen by the judge, the state's attorney, and the defense to go through a more intense questioning protocol this afternoon. I do want to warn you before we continue that some of the details that I'm going to discuss that took place during that questioning is gruesome and can be disturbing for some. Now, the process of that more direct questioning is called voir dire. It's where attorneys and the judge can ask individual potential jurors pointed questions. A focus point for Judge Laura Crivello today was potential jurors' media intake and interaction with law enforcement. For the state's attorney, they took a lot of time asking about people's tolerance to gruesome pictures, including mutilated body parts and blood. A lot of potential jurors raised their hands at this point, noting they would feel uncomfortable with this during court proceedings.
It is actually a homicide case that deals with the dismemberment of a human body. The testimony that you hear, if you're on this jury, will be graphic at times. You are going to see images of dismembered human body parts. Does anybody feel that it would be so bothersome to you that you wouldn't be able to even focus?
The defense also brought up this question, but it was framed to jurors who work in the healthcare field, those who see graphic things daily, like blood and bodily fluids, people in the juror pool who work in operating rooms and are possibly used to using heavy machinery involving body parts. A handful of jurors who are in the medical field responded to the defense's questioning.
I know a few of you were nurses or involved in medicine. Can you raise your hand if you're a nurse or worked at a hospital? Okay, and that's probably why you didn't raise your hand when they were asking about the gruesome photos and gruesome evidence, because you do that, somewhat in your career path.
Now that those 13 people are ready to go, 12 people will sit on the jury with 3 alternates. It's typical protocol for cases like that are being tried starting tomorrow. Both the defense and the state will start with their opening statements. We'll be there at the top of the morning, reporting to you live and streaming online and on social media this entire trial. Back to you, Steve.
Jenna Ray at the safety building, thank you. Let's go back and look at a timeline of events since Robinson's death. She was last seen April 1st of 2024. On April 2nd, authorities found the first of several pieces of human remains belonging to Robinson. It was a severed leg found in Warnemont Park. 2 days later, Maxwell Anderson was taken into custody on April 4th. He was a person of interest in that severed leg. On April 12th, Anderson was officially charged with first-degree homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. Prosecutors allege he killed Robinson after their first date. You can count on TMJ4 to bring you full coverage on air and online. Once the trial itself begins, watch it all live at TMJ4.com or through our streaming platforms. We'll also have a crew in court throughout the trial covering all the details.
So sad. Let me just share again. Hold on. Brutal killer 34 murdered and dismembered student 19 on the first day after watching Netflix series showing mutilation. The two met at a bar and spent the rest of their evening getting dinner and drinks. Killer murdered and dismembered a college student on their first date after allegedly watching a Netflix series showing mutilation. Maxwell Anderson, 34, was convicted of homicide and dismembering a corpse on Friday for the heinous murder of Sade Robinson, 19, last year. That is her. That's her again. That's him. The two had met at a bar and spent the rest of their evening getting dinner and drinks at the Twisted Fisherman in Milwaukee. Teen Sade then went back to Anderson's apartment, where at one point in the night, the alleged killer put on Netflix show Death and Robots. Love, Death and Robots. One episode of the series called The Drowned Giant portrays the horrific mutilation of a human body on the beach. In a chilling similarity, prosecutors have claimed that Monster Anderson dismembered Sade's body on a beach in Wisconsin overlooking Lake Michigan. Juror Melissa Blasco told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, "I was like, that's disgusting because that could have been where he got some of his ideas or fantasies. I physically felt like I was going to throw up at that point. I know a lot of people were shaking and crying." Anderson was also charged with arson and hiding a corpse in connection with Sade's death. He was found guilty on all charges. Cops says it believed Anderson spread the 19-year-old remains across Milwaukee County and burnt her car in an attempt to hide key evidence. Surveillance footage showed Sade's car leaving Anderson's apartment in the early hours of April the 2nd. It then arrived at the beach along the shores of Lake Michigan. When Sade didn't turn up for work the next day, concern was sparked on her whereabouts. The student's manager, Justin Morano, told CNN that she was very outgoing and she would talk to everyone here. He added she was always there to lighten the mood. After Sade hadn't shown up for her shift, which wasn't like her at all, Justin added, we kind of knew something was up. We have been calling her all day. Anderson is thought to have dismembered Sade and set her car alight behind an abandoned building. He then took a bus back to his apartment. Despite extreme fire damage to Sade's car, cops were able to identify the outfit the 19-year-old had been wearing on the night of the date, alongside part of her iPhone consistent with hers, CNN reports. Cops have been called to Waremont Park after a human leg was horrifically discovered, which was later identified as belonging to Sade. Anderson had planned to kill the student weeks before her death, a confidential informant claimed, Fox News reports. Anderson attorney Tony Cotton argued that the prosecution showed no evidence of his intention to kill Sade. The attorney also raised how Anderson didn't try to hide his identity as he traveled on public transport home and was also in clean clothes despite having allegedly dismembered Sade's body in a muddy location. Jurors reached their verdict in 1 hour on the 9th day of the trial. Milwaukee County Assistant District Attorney Ian Vance said, while we are satisfied with the verdict, our hearts go out to the family of Sade Robinson. And Milwaukee County Sheriff's Detective Joanne Donna, who has spent months working on a heartbreaking case, said, my heart goes out to the family and Sade's friends and really the community at large. It's everyone's come together, and it's really hard to take the step back as a law enforcement officer and not get that really emotionally involved during the case. I will admit that I did go back to my office after the verdict and I had a good cry because I finally got to have that emotion. It does affect us too. And Sade's grieving mom, Shania Scarsborough, said in a GoFundMe set up for her daughter's memorial service that she was a loving daughter and a cherished sister and a dear friend of many. Anderson is sentenced is to be sentenced on August 15, where he faces a mandatory life sentence in prison. That's it. Whew. It's a lot. Super sad. Savannah, your thoughts?
So, Diva, this is one of the trials I've been following on another platform because I had questions and concerns how a beautiful 19-year-old went freely with a 35-year-old white male that looks demonic to me. Like, he doesn't look like he's all there, and he just I didn't understand how she took interest and went freely with this person at the time of their date, because she did go at her own will to his home. Mm-hmm. And he lured her into his home. There is allegations that she is not his first victim. Mm-hmm. There was blood found in his home but it did not match the young lady. Mm-hmm. So they are trying to see if there's a second victim out there that they do not know about. I don't know if it's the naivety of our young adults, especially the 20-year-olds who feel like they're invincible, that there's evil's not going to get them, where they're not going to be hurt by anything, or that there's no predators out there. But she was intelligent. She was liked and had a group of friends that were with her. And when you coming across predators like this, and there is an issue with men who have no actual social interaction. And I've always said that the internet is one of the greatest inventions, but it's also one of the worst inventions, because there's such a level of separation, or where the, especially men, and I've been hearing a lot about especially young men nowadays who don't know how to interact socially, who don't know how to maintain friendships or even build friendships. I miss the days where you can come up to a girl and buy a drink or have a conversation. Now everything's done through technology where you don't know who's on the other end of an app. It
Mhm.
is just, it's sad and scary. And this person absolutely showed no remorse. Um, and, and my heart breaks for the mother as well, that she lost her baby and someone who had a bright future in front of her. I think the law enforcement, the judicial system got it right. But I don't think that we're done hearing his story. I do believe that there's other victims in that area.
Yeah. When I read this story, I that had so many thoughts running through my head. I just said to myself, how did she even end up in his presence? And to me, when
Hmm.
they said that he was planning to kill her weeks before it actually happened, I felt like there was some communication going on between the two. Um, I think there's pieces missing. Listen, either way, she didn't deserve to go like that. Um, but
Absolutely.
but I do think there's pieces missing or as to how she found herself in the presence of this man. And she
Well,
was
she
so
was visiting a
good.
restaurant where he worked at with her friends. She visited there several times. They got to talking and they shared contact information. And he eventually asked her out, and she felt comfortable enough with him to say yes. But he made sure that they were in, because this took place during the day. They spent that whole day together, that April 1st, the beginning of April. They were out in during daylight hours till the nighttime when he lured her into the home around 8 9 p.m. She had been with him all day and was comfortable with him, so she decided to go.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's very sad and unfortunate. And then the hope is that however she went, it maybe it wasn't brutal, but what he did to her body afterwards was just horrific. And I don't think, from everything I read, I don't think they found all her body parts. Am I correct in saying that?
They have not. That is
Yeah,
correct. They have not found all her body parts. No, they have
that's
not.
just evil. That's just evil beyond belief. Yeah, yeah, pure evil. That's really evil. Yeah, I mean, may she rest in peace. It's so sad. Um, and you I don't and if she was going in the restaurant or wherever he worked that much and he just never you still just never know anybody. I still would say still after the
Mhm.
first meeting or after the first date, you still just don't go home with anybody. Oh, and I'm sure he was very charming, to lure her,
Mhm.
because a lot of these serial unalivers are. What was that Ted Bundy they said was extremely charming? Extremely
Oh
charming.
yeah, Ted
Hmm.
knew how to lure the women in. Absolutely. But this guy had definitely a plan, because he ended up burning her car in an area that was not a good part of town. So he knew exactly where to go dump the car. Got on a
Hmm.
bus, went home. I mean, they had videos of him, of the timeline of him doing this stuff, and pinging her phone and his phone from the cell towers, so they were able to link him very easily.
Mm, 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 mm. Very sad. We're gonna go ahead and roll. May she rest in peace. I know you said give him the chair. Well, the good thing is he definitely is going to get life in prison. That's the good thing. But the sad thing is only 19, and to have to die that way is extremely sad and horrific. We're going to go ahead and roll right into the next story. I guess I'll do this cop that was unalived by the partner. Let's go ahead and get into that story. So let me share a screen. Let me just X out of this. I have too many things open. All right, let's start with this.
And tough questions in the aftermath of the death of Chicago police officer Crystal Rivera. The department of confirming now late yesterday the bullet came not from a suspect, but from her fellow officer. The confirmation adding another layer of tragedy to the department's mourning. Our Sarah Maki hearing from Superintendent Larry Snelling today as he speaks publicly for the first time since that revelation.
CPD still has not released any information about that other officer's name, age, or time with the department, but Superintendent Snelling has given some insight into his situation. At an outreach event to build bridges between Chicago police and area kids, there is no avoiding the trauma and tragedy of the past 48 hours.
That officer is in a very, very tough place. Unimaginable what that officer has to be feeling right now.
Superintendent Larry Snelling urging against a rush to judgment.
There may be things that an officer sees that no one else knows at the time.
Police said Friday night, Officer Crystal Rivera was unintentionally shot and killed by a fellow officer while chasing a suspect through an apartment building Thursday night, and after a second person pulled out a rifle. 36-year-old Rivera shot once in the back, a 4-year veteran of the department and a mother.
And we're trying to do the best job we can, but sometimes it's maybe not the best, right?
Dr. Carrie Steiner, former CPD officer and licensed clinical psychologist, tells us the brain works differently under extreme stress.
When you're faced with deadly force, your limbic system starts to go and you are just like more of an animal and you're just reacting to things. And you're not using the frontal lobe, which is what we're using right now. You're using the limbic system, which is basically fight, flight, freeze.
These situations are rare, but not unprecedented. 2 Chicago police officers were wounded in 2021 when another officer's gun discharged during a struggle with a suspect. Snelling says this investigation continues and will likely result in changes.
This is how we create training and anything else that we need to do around these situations.
Purple and black bunting hangs across the entrance of CPD headquarters. Still no more information about any funeral services for Officer Rivera. From CPD headquarters, Sarah Maki, CBS News, Chicago.
Sarah, thanks. In this case, so far, no charges. 2 people were taken into custody Thursday night in relationship to the event. CPD and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, were investigating the shooting. Former police superintendent Gary McCarthy tells CBS News Chicago this investigation is likely to last longer than most because of so many complicating factors involving multiple officers.
Oh my goodness, so sad. Wait, I have more information. Hold on one second. Yeah, there's something is amiss, Flip. And yeah, I don't like this, but let's get some more information. After Chicago police officer Crystal Rivera accidentally killed by fellow officer, top cop warns against rush to judgment. So Chicago Police Superintendent Larry on Saturday cautioned against a rush to judgment after police confirmed Officer Crystal Rivera was accidentally shot and killed by a fellow officer Thursday night during a chase in Chatham neighborhood. There may be things that an officer sees that no one else knows at the time, he said. Rivera was part of a CPD tactical team on patrol just before 10 p.m. near 82nd and Drexel when they tried to conduct an investigatory stop. And as officers approached, the suspect ran into a nearby apartment building. Police chased the suspect inside, and sources said Rivera and her partner followed the suspect to an apartment on the 2nd floor. The superintendent, he has said, when officers get to that apartment, they were confronted by a second person with an armed rifle. As released in yesterday's preliminary statement, an officer discharged his weapon during the encounter with an armed offender. The department said in a statement Friday night Further investigation revealed the only weapon discharged during the incident was the weapon of the officer, whose gunfire unintentionally struck Officer Rivera. Rivera, 36, was shot in the back and was rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where she was pronounced dead. Police have not released any information about the other officer's name, age, or time with the department, but sources said the officer is Rivera's partner, and the superintendent has given some insight into his situation. An outreach event to build bridges between police officers in Chicago Louvre on Saturday morning, there was no avoiding the trauma and tragedy of the past 48 hours. The officer is in a very, very tough place, unimaginable what that officer has to be feeling right now, he said. Although police have confirmed another officer, Although police have confirmed another officer accidentally shot and killed Rivera, he urged Chicago's people not to jump to any premature conclusions about exactly what happened. There may be things the officer sees that no one else knows at the time, he said. Dr. Carrie Steiner, a former Chicago police officer turned police and public service psychologist, said the human brain works differently under extreme stress. We're trying to do our best job we can, but sometimes it may not be the best right. She's right at the moment, she said. When you are faced with deadly force, your limbic system starts to go, and you are just like more of an animal, and you're just reaching for things, reacting to things. You're not using the frontal lobe, which is what we're using right now. You're using the limbic system, which is basically fight, flight, freeze. These situations are rare, but not unprecedented. 2 Chicago police officers were wounded in 2021 when another officer's gun discharged during a struggle with a suspect. The superintendent said the investigation will likely result in changes in the department. This is how we create training and anything else that we need to do around these situations, he said. Purple and black bunting hung across the entrance of the CPD headquarters on Saturday in honor of Rivera, a 4-year veteran of the force and a mother. No funeral services or other memorial arrangements for Rivera have been announced yet. No charges have been filed against either of the people in custody. Former Chicago Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy, now Chief of Police in Willow Springs, said this investigation could take longer than others expect. Now, let me give you a little bit more insight to this story. The ambulance did not take her to the hospital. They put her in a police car. As they was driving, it was a crash. Then the police car caught on fire. So she wasn't taken via ambulance. So that's a little bit problematic right there. They won't release his partner's name, but of course, the people inside the department know. Pow pow in her back. This is very messy. Let me see if I can find the other thing. But I read also, like I said, that they did not take her in an ambulance. She was driven in the police car, and then it was a crash, and then the car caught on fire. Then she was put in another car so they could continue to bring her to the hospital. Savannah, your thoughts?
You are correct, Eva. I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I read and seen on another news channel, that they failed to give her or render correct aid immediately. Mm-hmm. I don't think that law enforcement is being transparent in this situation. Yep. Because I went to enough Law and Order SVU and their new one as well to know that you are supposed to make sure you are aware of where your partner is at all times.
Come on now.
And for her to get shot in the back, that means either she got in the way of her partner's line of sight with the perpetrator, or that the partner was not clear on where she was located in the whole event. So it's not, I call BS on it. I do not think they're being transparent. It shouldn't take a tragedy like this to create a training situation so that they can do their jobs correctly. So I agree with that chief saying that, the incidents like this is what makes us better. No, you should already have practices in place so incidents like this don't happen. Because when they're out there, your partner is supposed to they're supposed to have your back, not take you out in the back.
Whew.
So I'm at a loss for that. Something's missing from this story that I am not buying. This is BS. So we got a little girl without her mother, and then instead of calling, they're supposed to contact dispatch right away. Officer down, send a bus, and you're gonna put her in a police vehicle that ends up crashing and catching on fire. So we're losing minutes and time. It's a mess. It's a mess. Chicago, they're trying to clean it up, and and they haven't brought. This was someone else that said that about the vehicle crashing. It wasn't the chief of police who put it out there. Someone else had put it out there. So I think they're doing a cover up. I want to know who the answer is.
Yeah, there's definitely a cover. Well, just so you know that I'm making this up. They also said the squad car used to transport the officer had caught on fire en route due to a malfunction, and the officer was transferred to another squad car. Why wasn't there an ambulance? What the heck? So she got no emergency care on the way to the hospital. So they bring her to the hospital. Now this car catches on fire, and then they transfer to another one. Listen, all the shows I see, officer down, send an ambulance right away.
Absolutely, send a bus right away, officer down.
Yep, and her 10-year-old daughter is now motherless. Something in this story does not sound right. Listen, what's that darn Hey Juice? What is that darn actor? Now listen, he did what he did, but didn't he say the Chicago Police Department was corrupt? What is his darn name? He ended up he had the hoax. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett. He said they was corrupt. Yeah. This don't sound right. You don't put her in a
absolutely not.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. When I read this, I was like, this is crazy. I never heard anything like this. And unless the hallway was dark, it was an apartment building. So they need to stop. And then the suspect never discharged their firearm.
For it to happen in the back, I've all the shows that I've seen, and I am an SVU season 1, episode 1 to now season 27. Like I've seen them all. Your partner is supposed to go on the side of you, not directly behind. I am so lost and why they're covering this man's identity, or is there something else that we're not hearing from the story? I call BS. It's a cover up, Diva. I believe it's a cover up on this story.
I believe it's a cover up too. And I think if they end up letting out the name of this officer, there may be people that know her. I mean, but her family, I'm sure, know who her partner is. But there may be some people that have some more information, because this just don't sound right. And I'm not understanding how you do not call an ambulance to take. You will call it for a stranger, somebody else. How do you not call it for your fellow officer? Yeah. And
officer
they talk
down right away. That's right. What they say.
They talk until we have had the opportunity to really sit down and work things out, gathering all the information. It will be at that time that we will determine what needs to be done to move forward, he said. This is the chief of police. The chief of police, and talking about the other guy is in is heartbroken too. No, her daughter's heartbroken.
Yeah.
Wait, let me just show one more thing here. This is fishy. It is fishy. I don't disagree with y'all. When I read this, I was like, this is unbelievable. So a dedicated mother and daughter, Rivera's mother, Yolanda Rivera, was sleeping when she got a call from Chicago police. She slept through the call, but woke up later to the alert. She sent 4 texts to her daughter. You called me on police phone. Chris, are you okay? The texts were never answered. As soon as she wasn't responding, I knew something happened, Yolanda Rivera said. Yolanda Rivera spoke with police and went with Bella to the hospital. Doctors met them in a private room and said they tried everything they could to save her. Crystal Rivera was planning her daughter's 11th birthday party, which was scheduled for Saturday, a fashion enthusiast. She had just bought a new pair of boots at Ross. She won't see her daughter turn 11 or wear her new boots. She'll never get to wear those boots she wanted to wear, Bella said. She was so happy that she found them. She loves fashion and work at the same time. Her daughter is gorgeous. She's tall too. This is sad. Crystal Rivera was a single mom, and Bella said she and her mom were very close. On rainy days, they would color, talk, and watch movies. The two would drive around looking for unique license plates and giggle at them. She often found her mom eating cereal with bananas on the couch and woke up to her doing sit-ups while she was in training to become a police officer. I'm going to miss her, Bella said. I want to go home with her. I don't want my whole life to change. Crystal Rivera looked up to her mom, calling her Wonder Woman and trying her best not to worry her mother. Looking through her daughter's Instagram account Friday, Yolanda Rivera choked back tears. Crystal Rivera was always put together with her hair and nails done. She's so pretty, her mother said, crying. Crystal Rivera had failed one part of the police academy exam, but she persisted to become an officer in 2021. Jacqueline Rivera said, it had been a dream of hers to be a cop since she was a child, Yolanda Rivera said. For me, it's a privilege, Rivera told the Sun-Times when she graduated from the academy in 2021. I come from a family of serving. To help people in need, that's my calling. But Yolanda Rivera knew her daughter's job came with risk. I told her probably a couple weeks ago, please get a different job or get a desk job. It's so dangerous out there, Yolanda Rivera said. She kept on telling me, Mom, I'm going to be okay. Don't worry, Mom. That's the mother. On the job and in her personal life, Crystal Rivera was selfless, never complained, even when work got hard, Jacqueline Rivera said. The cases were heartfelt for her, Jacqueline Rivera said, but she never wanted to bring that back home. I would see it in her expression. She had worries. Rivera loved action and comedy movies, especially the Transformers and anything starring Jim Carrey. And she had just bought tickets for a country music concert in the fall, her family said. She cared about animals and dreamed of living on a farm in Wisconsin, her mom said. If you want to think of a good person, a great person, as an example, you think of her, Bella said. 7 other officers have been killed in the line of duty shooting since 2018, according to the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. 2 other officers, Eduardo and Conrad Gary, were fatally struck by a commuter train while chasing a gunman on the far south side of December 2018. Enrique Martinez was shot and killed during a traffic stop in November in the 8,000 block of South Ingleside Avenue, just blocks from where Rivera was killed. Martinez was shot with a gun equipped with an extended magazine and modified to fire automatically. Darion, a convicted felon from Harvey, is charged with the murder and other felonies in Martinez's death. The entire city of Chicago is grieving. I don't even want to read that because I have a problem with this case. Something is amiss. Something is amiss. Something
Indeed,
is
amiss. But according to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office, her death is ruled a homicide. So there has to be some type of arrest or something on her partner, because there also was they haven't given an exact time or an amount of time that was lost in rendering her proper aid. That's what it says. So they haven't released a number, but it says that a significant amount of time was lost in not administering proper aid. So, and that is on Chicago Tribune and People and Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Sun-Times, and on People Magazine.
And you know what, Savannah, though? That's on the partner. So once he knew he shot her, I bet you he didn't make the proper calls. He didn't call that thing in right away. And how did they get her? How did you transport her from the building on the 2nd floor to this car without EMTs? So you damaged her even more.
Wow, that's right.
You damaged her even more. And what, did you buckle her up? Come on now, you buckled her up in the back of a police car? And I never been in one, but people told me the back of the police car is the most uncomfortable thing you can ever imagine. So she's bleeding, she's shot, she probably can't even breathe. You carried her down like this. This is nasty. This is nasty. How did you move her?
Mm-hmm.
So did you, instead of calling for help for her, did you call another fellow officer and said, please come help me clean up this mess? Because how was another car just driving behind you so that we could transfer her into this car when the one car catches on fire?
It says assisting officers came in, and when she was transported to another vehicle and then driven to the hospital. So there had to be more patrol there on scene that did
so
that.
all of them need to be in trouble.
Other people should be.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All of them need to be in trouble. Because why did you not call 911? They could have gave her oxygen. They could have started IV. And they could really get her to the hospital. And at least she's being treated while we're trying to get her to the hospital. She got no treatment while they was. Mm-hmm. That's why they saying minutes are lost too. And this chief of police is trying to bamboozle us, talking about, no, don't jump to judgment. No, we are.
We are.
Because a mother is gone, and her 10-year-old daughter, who was just about to have her birthday party, is now going to a funeral. It's sad. I don't know if you heard the story, Rain, or you want to just wait to the next one. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Just wait. I just had to go through my TV. I was watching TV. Boom, boom. I'm like, oh, Diva's live.
No worries. All right. I'm going to do this last story. And this last story is a Christian singer, Michael Tait. You know, the Diddy story has really exposed to me what goes on in the entertainment industry rampantly. As I said before, we heard it with Epstein. We heard it with Weinstein. We heard it with Bill Cosby. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. The list is long. The list is long. And I think long after I'm gone, probably unfortunately, because nobody wants to address how you can prevent this from happening, it's going to continue to happen. So this guy is a Christian singer. I have so much so many things to piece together with this story. I guess I'll start with this piece here to give the whole background initially. Let's do that. So Christian rock band singer Michael Tait, accused of SA drug abuse after he's been living a double life, the report says. Let me pause that. The former lead singer of an award-winning Christian rock band was allegedly living a double life as he faces accusations of SA grooming and drug abuse dating as far as 2 decades. Michael Tait, who served as the frontman of Newsboys for 16 years before leaving in January, allegedly abused alcohol and drugs before inappropriately touching several people, according to an investigative report from Christian media outlet The Roy's report. Newsboy current members Jody Davis, Duncan Phillips, Jeff Frankenson, and Adam Agee addressed the allegations against their former bandmate on Friday. Last night, our hearts were shattered when we read the news alleging drug abuse and inappropriate sexual actions by the former lead singer, Michael Tait. While Michael has not addressed these allegations, we were devastated even by the implications, the band wrote on Instagram. First and foremost, our hearts are with the victims who have bravely shared their stories. If you are a victim, we urge you to come forward. We absolutely do not condone any form of SA. The band members described themselves as fathers and husbands who were left horrified, heartbroken, and angered over the allegations against Tait. Tait, 59, allegedly confessed that he had been living a double life when he left the group, the band claimed. We never imagined that it could be this bad, the band added. That's him. Tait announced he was departing Newsboys on January 16th, a day after a TikToker made a viral post claiming the singer was gay. The post reached over 250,000 views before it was removed from the platform for violent extremism, according to the outlet. Tait didn't address the viral TikTok in his decision to leave the band. While this may come as a surprise, given I've been touring ever since college, I made for me what is a monumental and heartfelt decision that it is time to step down from Newsboys. He wrote in an Instagram post on January 16th. The decision does not come lightly and has been a shock to even myself. But amidst prayer and fasting, I have clarity that this is the right decision. Tait joined Newsboys in 2009 after having been the lead singer for the Christian rap trio Deceit. Tait allegedly befriended multiple people while on tour, including 3 men in 2004, 2010, and 2014, respectively. 2 of the men, who were all 22 years old when they met Tait, 59, claimed they were offered alcohol and they woke up to the singer allegedly fondling them, that outlet added. The 3rd man alleges Tait offered him cocoa on the Newsboys tour bus, gave him a back massage in a hot tub, and was invited to his king-size bed where the vocalist began to touch him non-consensually, the outlet reported. Newsboys was nominated for 4 Grammy Awards between 1992 and 2003. They have been nominated for 30 Dove Awards, winning 6 times, and have won several other awards, including a Billboard Music Video Award and 2 Nashville Music Awards. The band appeared in the movie God's Not Dead as themselves, performing a concert attended by the main characters played by Shane Harper and Kevin Sorbo. Oh my gosh. I don't understand these people. I'll interject with some, well, you know what? Let me add one more piece here. So, exclusive, former Newsboy frontman Michael Tait accused of SA, grooming and substance abuse dating back to 2004. It's been called Nashville's worst kept secret. For decades, allegations have circulated that the Newsboy frontman Michael Tait, formerly of Deceit, had groomed and SA numerous victims. And after a 2.5-year investigation by the Roy's report, which included interviewing more than 50 sources, TRR has documented Tait's alleged predatory pattern with stories dating back more than 2 decades. TRR also corroborated allegations of Tait's alcohol and substance abuse with multiple sources. 3 men spoke to TRR, alleging that Tait befriended them individually on Christian music tours in 2004, 2010, and 2014. They were all 22 years old at the time. 2 men stated that they were drinking alcohol with Tait and later woke up to him fondling their private area. 1 alleged Tait also offered him cocoa while on the Newsboys tour bus. The 3rd told TRR that Tait gave him a back massage while skinny dipping and later invited him to share his king-size bed. There, Tait allegedly non-consensually massaged his behind. I'll say it that way. TRE reached out repeatedly to Tait for a comment with no response. From DC Talk to Newsboys, Tait's music career has been nothing short of spectacular, starting with the band DC Talk, winning 4 Grammys before their hiatus in 2001. Tait, along with fellow Liberty University alum Toby and Kevin Smith, made history in contemporary Christian music. In their 2019 book, Jesus Freak, Will Stocking and D. Gilson called the band nothing less than the Beatles of Christian music. DC Talk's 1995 album, Jesus Freak, spent 79 weeks on the Billboard's 200 list and sold more than 3 million copies. Since the band's never-ending intermission started in 2001, mystery has shrouded the future of the Christian music stalwarts. And despite all 3 artists collaborating on multiple songs, a Jesus Freak cruise, and a reunion on Toby Mac's latest album, Life After Death, the band never got back together, and it seems unlikely it ever will. Tait began looking toward the Newsboys, a band founded by former leader, singer Peter and George in Australia in 1985. The band found success after moving to Nashville in 1991, releasing 14 studio albums and receiving 4 Grammy nominations before Peter stepped down in 2009. Tait then became the lead singer for Newsboys, and Newsboys manager Wes Campbell became sole owner of the band. It is not an exaggeration to say for many evangelical teens who came of age in the 90s, the Newsboys were a core part of their evangelical Christian experience, said Leah Payne, professor of American Religious History at Portland Seminary. They were reformed in some ways as an ongoing supergroup, most notably recruiting Michael Tait, who was 1/3 of DC Talk. They really had a second life. This sort of gives voice to American conservatism. During Tait's time with the band, the Newsboys would source 4 number 1 albums on the Billboard Christian charts, with 2011 God's Not Dead reaching gold status. The album and subsequent lead song success led to cameos in multi-million-dollar film series God's Not Dead. The first film also secured $64 million internationally at the box office for Pure Flix Entertainment, multiple successful Newsboys tours, a swath of merchandise sales for the band. Although there have been rumors of misconduct, Tait and his network's influence and ability to blackball people from the industry has squelched them, sources say. The tide shifted January 15th when that TikToker who famously outed journalist Jonathan in July 2012 said in a video reel that Tait is gay. After it garnered 250K views, the reel was removed by TikTok for violent extremism. Southworth did not provide evidence and went against journalistic ethics by publicly outing Tait's alleged sexuality without consent. But it was enough to disrupt the status quo in Nashville, where the heart of Christian music power and money reside. The following day, Tait announced he was stepping down. In a statement posted on the Newsboys social media, Tait stated that stepping down from Newsboys was a shock to even myself, but amidst prayer and fasting, I have clarity that this is the right decision. The announcement came after the release of the Tait-helmed new single, How Many Times, and 2 days before their first show of the year at Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Band member Adam Agreed told Fox 58 the band was scrambling to re-record the single, and a new version of the song, led by Agee, was released soon after. The chaos left Newsboys fans asking for ticket refunds on social media or expressing confusion at the quick turnaround of lead singers. Despite this chaos, Tait has been out of the public spotlight since it has not posted on social media since his statement. There's no evidence Tait stepped back from the band due to Southworth's allegations, but the timing alone was enough to give Christian music pause and survivors to speak out. Tait's accused of love bombing a young musician. In September 2010, 22-year-old Stephen, who asked to remain anonymous, was living the dream. As a touring musician for the Chris Slay Band, he walked into festival stages every night and played guitar to crowds of screaming teenagers. Growing up in a conservative Christian family with missionary parents, this was surreal. I was a huge DC Talk fan, and Tait was just kind of like a weird idol, Stephen told TRR. As a kid, Stephen had played DC Talk's Jesus Freak on repeat, even though it was outlawed by his parents. So when the Chris Slay Band was offered a slot opening for the Newsboys with Tait as a lead singer, Stephen was in awe. But things took a turn when Tait seemed to take a special interest in him. Lead singer Chris recounted the moment Tait first saw Stephen, saying he was intensely focused on the 22-year-old while their band played on stage before Newsboys set Columbia, Maryland on September 17th. Most of the time, big stars do not hang around and watch the opening show. He said, I remember sort of being peeved that Tait cared more about my bandmate than he cared about me. And then it slowly evolved into something that I felt was weird. Initially, Stephen and Tait met briefly backstage during a pre-concert prayer led by Tait. After the tour ended, Stephen worked as a clerk at a store in Brentwood, a suburb 10 miles south of Nashville. It was here he encountered his childhood idol again 2 months later, and this time Tait gave him his number. It started out, we were friends, Stephen recalled. We went to a movie, he picked me up, and then we would usually just play darts at the bar in Nipper's Corner. That is a young man whose face they're blaring out, and that is Tait next to him. Stephen wasn't fazed by the 21-year age gap between him and Tait, but his bandmate, who was both his bandmate and housemate, was acutely aware of it. It felt like a weird, like attraction sort of thing, he told TRR. They were texting all the time and they got really close really fast. It was just love bombing. Tait was pouring it on to Stephen in really interesting and kind of gross ways looking back. He would call Stephen last minute. He would take him to steakhouses and pay for the meal and get him very expensive shots of alcohol. I have the vague memory that there was like a back room at the restaurant that he took Stephen to. That kind of stuff is really impressive to somebody who grew up as a poor missionary kid, especially with someone like Tait, who you think you're safe with. Tommy Lee, bass guitarist of Chris Slade band at the time, heard Stephen describe the relationship between Stephen and Tait. Stephen will go out on the road with us, and he's like, yeah, I hung out with Michael Tait, Lee said. And we were like, oh, yeah, that was cool. But it was kind of weird, too, you know. I don't know anything about Michael personally. I just assumed maybe Michael was just being a nice dude, you know, trying to help him out or something. But then he was hanging out with him more, and I did not like it. It was kind of weird. By early 2011, Tait and Stephen had become fast friends, and Stephen didn't think twice when Tait invited him to his Brentwood home, a four-bedroom, three-bathroom mansion sold by Tait to his former Newsboys bandmate Jeff Frankenson later that year. Stephen presumed he and Tait would meet there before going out to the bar, but Tait invited him inside instead. Stephen told TRR they sat in the kitchen and Tait offered Stephen a drink. He was a real hush-hush, Stephen said. I later found out that he had family living with him, and they were unaware that I was there. Stephen said Tait poured him highball glasses of Maker's Mark bourbon. He drank 3 with Tait egging him on. Stephen said Tait also reportedly drank alcohol heavily. Then, feeling sick from the alcohol consumption, Stephen vomited over the second-story balcony, feeling dizzy. He went downstairs and laid down in the backyard. Tait followed him. Everything was spinning, he told TRR. After a short time, Stephen and Tait went back to the second floor, and Tait led him to the living area. I was super embarrassed because this dude's like my idol at the time, and I'm super out of it, Stephen said. I'm super sleepy, so he has got me on the couch, and he was like, I'll give you a foot massage. Telling TRR it seemed kind of weird, Stephen said he then passed out. Stephen said he woke up around 4 a.m. To Tait fondling my genitals, and then he was also kissing my mouth, saying that he went into freeze response and that he didn't know what to do. Stephen tried to pull away multiple times to stop Tait's behavior. It didn't work. I started staring, and he kept kissing me while touching my private area, Stephen said. Eventually, I just moved my head, and he stopped. And then he just kind of froze too. 15 years later, Stephen still remembers what time he left Tait's house because it was done in secrecy. I left before 6 a.m. That is when I figured out he had family living with him, Stephen said. He needed to get me out the door before the kids started waking up for school. When Stephen arrived home that morning, he told Slade that he had slept over and that Tait had gave him a foot massage. He only told his girlfriend about what followed. TRR has viewed text messages between Stephen and his then girlfriend corroborating that they discussed the incident with Tait multiple times throughout their relationship before they broke up. 2 weeks later, in the tour, Stephen told his bandmates about Tait giving him a foot massage, but refrained from sharing the rest of the details because he was embarrassed. I very much did not want to be excommunicated from the Christian music, he told TRR. Severity of the incident overlooked. By his own admission, he says he didn't realize the severity of the incident, something he now deeply regrets. When Stephen told us originally that Tait incident, we played it off like, oh, you're so gay. You probably brought this on yourself, Slade recalls. Lee also remembers this conversation, but was not aware Stephen, who was allegedly SA'd by Tait. He was in the van with us all, telling us his story, how he threw up, and then Tait gave him a foot massage. Lee said, I didn't think that was incredibly odd, but I didn't do anything at the time. Like say, Lee did not realize how negatively the incident impacted Stephen. I had told other people about the story because I thought it was so hilarious at the time, Lee said. And I thought, well, this is kind of odd, like if you're trying to help a young Christian kid out. I just thought it was kind of a bizarre way for Tait to do it. The story about Tait's foot massage and finally became an inside joke with the band, causing Stephen to turn inwards. But he stayed in contact with Tait, believing him to be his friend and calling him his idol. It kind of reminds you of, some of the people and what happened with Diddy and some of the people that allegedly he SA'd. Tait was basically the top of the food chain, Stephen said. He could either help me get jobs or he could not get jobs. I didn't want to screw myself, but he still sought answers. Where was I? The only time that I even approached the topic with Tait was about a week or two later, Stephen said. We went out to a bar in East Nashville. When we were walking in, I was like, hey, man, I feel like I kind of need an apology. He was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what happened? He said, oh, yeah, sorry about that. And then brushed it off, and it wasn't even a thought. Stephen's contact with Tait slowly dissipated, and their friendship ended when he left the Christian music industry and moved out of state. But the story of Tait's foot massage became a part of Nashville's rumor mill, and his bandmates misunderstood how violated he felt. It took another 2 years before Slade realized Stephen had also been SA'd. A friend of mine who was in the injury seat has said, hey, that Tait thing with Stephen that happened, right? It happened to another friend of mine, and I think it's like a real thing. It's serious. So they spoke to Stephen and learned about the full details of the incident with Tait, including a non-consensual fondling of his private area and kissing. Slade and Lee eventually apologized to Stephen, and 15 years later, with Stephen's consent, they are choosing to put their names on the record in a show of solidarity with their friend. Stephen's brother, who has chosen not to be named, so Stephen can't be identified, was also told about Tait's foot massage during an international phone call in December 2012. He learned about the assault when he visited Stephen in Nashville following spring. We, Stephen bandmates, made a big joke about it for a long time, his brother said. And in this post-Me Too era, I'm back and I'm like, how did I think that was a joke? Why was everybody so cowardly about this? Tait was untouchable, and no one wanted to mess with him. Stephen's brother also saw firsthand the toll the alleged SA took on Stephen's life. A couple years after that, he kind of talked about it again. The brother said he broke down sobbing about it because he was making like $150 a show as a musician. Michael Tait was the big star, and he thought that this guy wanted to be friends with him, and he felt betrayed. Stephen's brother later apologized for not being more sympathetic. It kind of went It kind of went from like this was a thing that had been a joke for years to all of a sudden it got super serious real fast, the brother said. And at the time, I didn't expect that, but it was just totally makes sense because if that happened to me, I'd be freaking pissed. I guess you don't understand it until it happens to you or someone close to you. You kind of be more sympathetic and less of an A about it, I guess. Stephen told TRR that he chose to speak up about it now because there are multiple people that had similar experiences. I would like to share it if it helps other people. I have moved on from the trauma. Skinny dipping and sleepovers. This is a lot that went on here. I'm not going to read it all to you. It's so long, but I will touch on this part a little bit. This wasn't the first time Tait allegedly groomed a young male. 6 years earlier, the rock star swapped phone numbers with a worship musician named Philip, not his real name, at a gig in Midwest. This time, he invited the 22-year-old over to stay at his house. It was spring of 2004 when Philip first encountered Tait. Growing up in the Midwest in the Assemblies of God Church, he joined a moderately successful worship band right out of college. But he called him over. He did similar stuff to this young guy. That is Tait in a picture of that young man. This is just horrific. And for these people to trust and overly trust because this is a Christian singer, it's sad. And everything was done without consent. But there's multiple people that he touched. They also saying this was well known in the industry. I will attach this article that has all the details to the description of the video. Savannah, your thoughts?
Well, Diva, I agree. This is a lot. And I first heard of this person, this singer, during the inauguration because he was on stage with 47, and the commentators were making jest and note of the allegations that were of him in the Nashville circles. I have never heard of him or who he was or the band or anything, but he was on stage and the commentators were making it a point that it was a significant to see him on stage with the current president, and he was performing for him, and there was other people there that were accused of this very same thing. You are correct. They also said this was not the first person that he had done essay to, and there was some serious allegations, but I'm side-eyeing the bandmates and the others, because the first thing I picked up in what you read was they're the fathers of 14 children. And this predator was around them for decades, because this went on since 2004 was the first allegation. And I just don't understand how, just because you hide behind the cloth or the church or the name of God, whatever it is, this person, and you very well know, these bandmates knew that these allegations were out there, and they did nothing about it, nothing to protect their own children, their own families, their fans, or even their church. So to me, they're all fake prophets. You were in it for profit and not to be a prophet. So I'm looking at the bandmates because you knew what this person was. You knew what he was for decades, and you did nothing about it to protect any of the innocent young other talents that came through there. Because there was even one on that story, it was one of the American Idol contestants who ended up opening up for this band. He did something too. And that was also talked about in the story. And they knew, the bandmates knew, because that American Idol singer went and told them, hey, this guy did this to me, what's the deal? And they laughed it off. They laughed off his accusations. So I'm looking at the bandmates. They should be ashamed of themselves, honestly, because they allowed this to go on. They're just as guilty.
Oh my God, so sad. Katrina, your thoughts?
Oh, people are surprised that he was up there with Trump. Really? Those are the people that Trump hang around with. These are the people that he let get pardons. That's not a shocker to me. Um, the thing of it is, like Savannah just said, the band members knew, just like everybody else knew what was going on with Diddy. Everybody knew. Nobody said anything. Everybody kept their mouth quiet. Um, like I tell a lot of people, the biggest trick that the devil did was to making people think he didn't exist. These are not people of God. Be for real. People of God never hurt people. These people hurt people. And the devil know the Bible just as well as God does. Y'all forgot that he was his right-hand man. So these people are influenced by materialistic things, not spiritual things. Because anybody with a spiritual body would not do the things that they were doing to other people, especially without consent. And it's not to me to judge anybody by their preference or sex or whatsoever. But the thing of it is, how you gonna serve one God when you doing something else? Be for real. If you reading the book of Bible, you should know that you can't serve two masters. So either you're going to be on the right side or you're going to be on the left side. And these people right here is not on the right side. It's just ridiculous that they think that just because they got money and all this, that you can just do anything to anybody, to just force yourself on somebody. That is so sick. If this man don't want your intentions, leave him alone. And as we said, the band's members knew. Nobody said anything. They laughing it off. So how many times have kids went told people about the Catholic Church? Don't mean to bring that in, but you know what I'm talking about, Diva. And they got laughed off. And then people wonder why people don't say anything in those situations, because you're laughing it off. It's not funny. If this guy felt violated and he letting y'all know that this is going on and y'all laughing it off, what the guy should have did was went to the police department. But they were saying that this man can get you into places, do this and do that for you. So I guess everybody's eye was on the green money, but not on themselves. So we'll see how this case goes. It's ridiculous. It's sad. It's just that these people are just totally insane with this money, with having superiority over somebody else and doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, my dear God. How many times we gonna hear about these people in this industry that causing other people pain? It's ridiculous, but we'll see how it goes. That's all I got, Diva.
Thank you. Wayne, your thoughts?
Yeah, this guy is a predator to the 10th degree. You know, they go in these churches and they look for the vulnerable ones. They look for the ones who, you know, single mom, you know, no father in the home. And they prey on them, just like Eddie Long. And I wouldn't put it past that this man then started with kids that weren't of consenting age. He's been doing it, according to this, it sounds like he's been doing this so long that it's like natural. It's like go and get a girlfriend. You know? And then they call themselves of God. And they in bars, drinking hard. They said he wasn't drinking cheap liquor. You know, and I don't know, y'all say the band members, I don't know if the band members knew he was actually, you know, touching and following him. I don't know if that got out. You know, I think they still, oh, it's odd, you know, he, you know, give you a foot massage, you're doing this and stuff like that, you know. But I'd hate to think that they knew he was molesting men or their band members or whatever and not saying anything and laughing off. That's not nothing funny. I just can't see them, you know. To me, that's complicit. You know, if you know somebody being abused and you're not saying nothing, I feel you're complicit as well. So I'm not sure if they actually knew what was going on. Maybe some dumb stuff like, oh man, that's weird, you know. But like the guy said, he never told them. They just laughed it off. So the foot massage is going to be a funny thing, you know. Now, at this point, because they all adults, I don't know what's going to happen to the guy, you know. But he certainly don't need to be up in the church singing to nobody. But like Katrina said, I'm not shocked at Trump. Birds have had him invite him someplace. Birds of a feather flock together. Game recognizes game. That's it.
Whew. I mean, when I read this, I was just in complete and utter shock. And for this man to say that he had family in the house with kids, just a disgusting predator. So you want to sneak him out and get him out this house before the kids in that home woke up and saw you there. So you was doing this debauchery like in the home. This is sick. And I don't think he ever stopped. And maybe now, you know, like this guy said, I'm speaking out. So maybe now people that, if unfortunately he did it to them recently, they would, you know, get the courage to come and speak out. And my thing is that if that's what you want, why not find somebody who is consenting and want to do that with you? rather than drugging people and allegedly enforcing yourself on them.
It's a thing about being in control.
He's the worst kind. The worst kind. And you talking about how you pray and you this and you that. Who is you praying to? The devil? Listen, guys, the darkness amongst us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me on this Sunday. Hit the like button. It doesn't have to be from a broken home. It could be a home with two parents, and always take his one person to lead you down the wrong path. That is so true, Sheila. It can happen to anybody because you're trusting and you're thinking like the safest place that people think they could probably go is some type of church or religious group. But you heard, even with this Scientology, I think I forgot her name is slipping my name right now. Sheila, I'm sorry, Sheila, if I said your name wrong. Even with this Scientology, what's her name? She's saying that they still trying to come after her.
Remini.
Yeah.
Leah Remini.
Yeah, she said they're still trying to come after her after leaving years later. She can't catch a break. Listen, guys, thank y'all for being here. Good night and goodbye, everybody. If you didn't hit that like button on the way in, hit it on the way out. And I'll see y'all tomorrow night for Trending Topics. Choo choo.
Choo choo choo.